Hey everybody, Drilling in the Name of here, and today I want to talk about the Corrosive Sludge Pump. Now I know I did a video on the sludge pump already, so you may be thinking, why? There are actually quite a few reasons why I wanted to do a follow-up video. For starters, there still seem to be a decent amount of people claiming it to be by far the weakest driller primary, so I want to show it some more love and go over a few things I didn't include in my last video. Second, I know there are brand new weapons out there, and I do want to make a wave cooker video, but I wanted to wait until the weapons get balanced out so I don't have this guy peering over my shoulder the whole time. Third, there were a few things I unfairly glossed over in my first video, and I wanted to go back and give them a fair chance. And last but not least, Season 2 has come with quite a few changes to the sludge pump, which have made it even more powerful. Let's talk about that last one first. Update 36 added quite a few weapon balances to the sludge pump, most of which are buffs.
The first thing mentioned is an increase to the base rate of fire, which was unexpectedly kind of a huge change.
I never considered the rate of fire to be all that slow because I kind of figured it just fit in with the design of the weapon, but it's a totally different animal with this buff.
It now fires up to 4 normal shots per second, so this really helps when you're taken by surprise. Next, we see the base ammo has been increased by 20%, while the base mag size has decreased by 20%.
This is weirdly kind of a buff when paired together. One thing I didn't mention in my first video was that you can fire a charged shot with any amount of ammo.
So even if you have just 1 shot left before a reload, you can fire it as a charged shot.
Now that we have 120 ammo with essentially 6 clips of 20 ammo, you can use this exploit up to 6 times. Whereas the original 100 ammo and 25 ammo clip size means you can only do this 4 times. And if you take more goo canisters in tier 3 like I do, you get 160 ammo, meaning you can do this up to 8 times.
Next, we see that the normal shot damage has been reduced from 25 to 16, corrosive DOT has increased from 5 to 8, and base puddle size has slightly increased.
So far this all seems to really follow my initial interpretation of the weapon, which is to prioritize slows and DOTs over direct damage.
Finally, for the base stats anyway, armor melting was removed from tier 5 and added to the base weapon. As for the mod changes, better air pressurizer got a 7% increase, which is great for those of you who prefer more range. Potent Goo Mix now increases normal shot damage by only 8 instead of 15. This is significant because the base values were already lowered, so Potent Goo Mix used to take you from 25 to 50 normal shot damage, but now only takes you from 16 to 24. Next, more goo canisters now gets you 40 extra ammo instead of 50. Then, improved spooling mechanism got a 10% buff, and fluoroantimonic acid got a slight buff, which I couldn't find a specific stat for.
So the new weapon balances for the sludge pump took an already very powerful weapon and made it even better. But despite that, I still see a lot of naysayers in comment sections. For that reason, I want to go over a couple things that didn't make it into my last video. For starters, at the time that I recorded that footage, I admittedly hadn't done much testing on the biggest and toughest enemies in Deep Rock. Let's take a look and see how they handle my disperser compound build.
First off, the sludge pump is super helpful when dealing with a Betsy. As you can see, she slows to a crawl when dealing with the sludge. The sludge pump is also really effective at slowing the movement of dreadnoughts.
He's so slow!
Miss Noth disagrees. Even the almighty bulk detonator is brought to its knees with the sludge pump. You can ignite your puddles for the additional heat damage, and the massive slowdown allows you to take on other enemies without worrying about the bulk detonator closing in on you and your teammates.
As you can see, you can bring even the largest enemies to a halt if you max out your slows. And if your team can tack on other status effects like neurotoxin, electrocution, and heat, you can really hold them to a spot and grind them down.
As a bonus, the slowdown also works on ghosts, which can be really helpful when you're in a tight spot.
Next, igniting the sludge puddles was a little unreliable in the beginning. If I remember right, initially a charge shot from your EPC would ignite the puddles, but then it was just plasma burn, and then nothing in your arsenal could ignite them for a period of time. That seems to all have been sorted out because now they ignite by accumulating 20 heat from any source. The best way to do this yourself is to fire 3 shots from your EPC with plasma burn. This can also be accomplished with things like incendiary grenades from your gunner, a shard diffractor built for heat from your engineer, or a firebolt from your scout using their bolt shark. Aside from the added heat damage, it's super effective to ignite your puddles because it can be spread infinitely.
Once you've ignited a sludge puddle, the fire will continue to spread as long as you connect your puddles together. This is great for area denial, especially when you're defending Doretta or an uplink and fuel cell. Another useful tactic is to fire at the ground in front of you as you run away from a swarm. This slows the bugs down enough for you to turn around, fire a charge shot, and finish them off. The Sludge Pump is also great at killing those pesky fester fleas. One shot coats a flea and they'll die as they try to fly away.
Lastly, this is a super fun weapon for low grav missions. Your shots will travel a lot farther, your puddles will spread out more widely, and if you get surrounded, you can just jump and shoot a charge shot directly beneath you. One thing to clarify, unfortunately, is that it no longer deletes exploders. The Sludge Pump used to melt exploders with one shot and negate the explosion, but that was apparently not the developer's intention, and they blow up now. Next, I think it's only fair to go over the overclocks I glossed over in my last video, starting with Sludge Blast. I really did only try it that one time because I just don't look at the Sludge Pump and think, gosh, these puddle dynamics are really cool, but kinda just wish you were a shotgun. But I have a YouTube now, and I'm bound by internet law to be both fair and balanced, so let's take a closer look at this dumb overclock.
Update 36 brought quite a few positive changes to this overclock. The clip size and charge time penalties were removed, you now lose 40 ammo rather than 20% of your total ammo, and the fragments now do half your charge shot damage rather than 40%. Instead of firing a charge shot that divides into fragments when it hits terrain, Sludge Blast fires fragments from the weapon itself.
Each fragment does a percentage of your charge shot damage, so there's potential for doing a lot of direct damage with this overclock.
While this certainly does some nice chunk damage when all your fragments hit a big target, I often watch several fragments fly past my target at medium range or farther, which forced me to get in close and fire again.
However, I found myself running into a similar problem I had with the Goo Bomber Special in that the majority of my fragments were often absorbed by just one or two bugs at the front of a pack.
The great part about the arc of the Sludge Pump is that you can drop your charge shot into the center of a pack so that the puddles spread out over all the enemies. But since the Sludge Blast fires directly forward, and there's obviously no blow-through with the fragments, it doesn't really feel that great for crowd control.
Alright, so I still don't like Sludge Blast. I think it might be a fine option if you want to simplify the Sludge Pump, but I don't personally feel the need to have essentially a third shotgun in DRG. Ghost Ship Games did such a great job creating a unique and complex weapon with so many different damage types and effects, and I think I just enjoy it more when I'm taking advantage of all those things. Now I concede it's personal preference, but now that it's been given its fair due, it's time to talk about the anti-gravity mixture overclock. Now in my last video I compared it to Cottage cheese, the joke being that I don't need to try it to know that I don't like it. Now this is unfair to both Cottage cheese and the overclock, so today, just for you guys, I'm going to be trying both for the very first time. I'm going to start with the cottage cheese just to get it over with. What's funny is I'm a very adventurous eater and I'll try just about anything, but there's something about cottage cheese that has prevented me from trying it my entire life. I think it's because it seems like it has more texture than flavor, and that texture seems really bad. I'm going to pour myself a beer to wash it down with just in case it's as bad as I suspect. This is a Central Waters barley wine that was aged in bourbon barrels for 4 years. Wow! Keep that close by. Alright. This isn't a bit. I really don't want to try this. And I'm kind of scared of how I'm going to react to it. I'm going to get I got a chew cam going here to capture my reaction. Alright, here goes. That was not an exaggeration. That is horrifying. That almost made me throw up. Oh my god. The AG mixture can't be as bad as that. So let's take a closer look.
Update 36 came with a pretty big buff to AG Mixture. It now increases projectile velocity by 30%, which is double the original value.
Projectiles also have their gravity reduced by 75%, so all this really means is that your projectiles travel farther and stay in the air longer.
And I have to say, it's not bad. In fact, I think I'd venture so far as to say I really like it. I never really cared about the limited range of the base weapon, but AG Mixture makes the Sludge Pump a legitimate ranged threat, and the increased rate of fire really lets you hammer on enemies from a safe distance. The velocity just feels good, while still allowing you to take advantage of the slowdown and DOT that I really enjoy about the Sludge Pump. Holy status effects, Batman.
Honestly, I'm happy to be wrong about AG Mixture, because it means today wasn't a total wash. Lastly, Update 36 came with a couple changes to Volatile Impact Mixture.
This overclock used to add 10 to your normal shot damage and 20 to your charge shot damage, but this increase now simply doubles those values. Going back to our base changes, this means Volatile Impact Mixture used to bring your normal and charge shot values to 35 and 70, but now brings them to 32 and 96. If you take Dice Nozzle in Tier 2 like this build here, this brings your charge shot total to 144. Or if you like the increased fire rate and take Potent Goo Mix, this boosts your normal shot damage to 48.
This really seems to be the way to go if you want to prioritize direct damage, and Carl.gg's loadout builder seems to confirm this.
Whether you take Dice Nozzle or Potent Goo Mix, Volatile Impact Mixture completely destroys Sludge Blast in terms of both DPS and theoretical total damage.
It is worth noting that the corrosive DOT penalty was increased from 25% to 50%, but let's be honest. If you're loading out the sludge pump this way, you're killing bugs directly and not waiting around for them to die anyway. So where does all this leave my ultimate sludge build? At this point, I've definitely leaned into disperser compound over hydrogen ion additive. The only change I've made since my first video is I've switched from atomizer nozzle to dice nozzle. I shoot a ton of charge shots, and since you're already getting more puddles and taking a hit to your charge shot damage, this feels like more of a happy medium. Though honestly, after today, I may be using AG Mixture more often.
In conclusion, I really think the Sludge Pump is one of the most challenging yet most rewarding weapons in all of Deep Rock. Once you get used to the mechanics and can combine status effects and attacks from the rest of your arsenal, it can be super powerful and extremely satisfying. But I can't help but feel like the Sludge Pump is the sad outcast of the Driller arsenal. When it comes to primary weapon debate, it seems like there's both a Cryo Camp and a Crisper Camp that vehemently defend their weapon of choice. But I don't often see the same passion for the Sludge Pump, and that's really too bad.
Well, by now I think I've made my opinion on the sludge pump crystal clear. But what do you think? My only hope is that some of you who aren't fans of the sludge pump see these videos and give it a second chance. And let me know in the comments if you find yourself a sludge pump convert. Finally, I know my content has slowed down a bit lately, and I just want to assure you that it's not for lack of ideas. If anything, there's too much I want to do, and I just need to find the time to do it all. Next up, I finally have the Drunk Escort Duty conclusion to the dual tutorial with Miss Nothis, then I have the next entry in my Deep Dive series, then a Satchel Charge guide, then a Wave Cooker guide, my first tier list, and then a bunch of challenge ideas with Miss Nothis. Plus some other stuff I'm probably forgetting. Quick shout out to my friend Red Swan for making me this so I don't have to wear the same shirt in all my videos. Big thank you to her. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe, and as always, rock and stone, brothers and sisters.